All right, so we are moving on to division. I want to erase these. All right, so with division, you no longer use this division symbol anymore. You've probably seen, like, I always see them every once in a while. It's like a math problem that goes viral on social media, and people are like, I bet you can't do the right answer. And the main reason is because people are trying to do the order of operations, but when you use a division symbol, it kind of complicates what order you need to go in. So this is why we no longer use it in algebra. It actually complicates problems more, and it leaves room for ambiguity. So typically, like those math problems, I should find one and share it with you all. They have like 2 right answers because it depends on how you interpret where the division symbol is, right? That's why we don't use it anymore. Okay, instead we write division as a fraction. And if you think about what division is, right, division is dividing something into smaller parts. A fraction represents a fraction of something whole, right? Breaking something into smaller parts into fractions. Okay, so instead of saying 18 divided by 3 using this symbol, you're going to say 18 over 3, and that still just means 18 divided by 3, and you'd still get 6. Okay, and if you look at the division symbol, it actually, the way it came about is it actually represents a fraction, and the 2 dots on the top and bottom represent like the placeholders for a number, for numbers that you put on the top and bottom. Right? So the division symbol is actually just like a symbol of a fraction. Okay, so no longer using that. We're going to use fractions from now on. Right, and the rules are the same thing. I'm sorry, my handwriting is really, really messy. But dividing with negative numbers, same exact rules with multiplication. If you have the same sign, so positive divided by positive or negative divided by negative, your answer will be positive. Okay? If you have a different sign, positive divided by negative, negative divided by positive, your answer will be negative. So same exact rule as multiplication. That shouldn't be confusing, hopefully. So just remember, same sign rules for multiplication and division. Okay, and just some examples. Right, so 18 divided by negative 3. I always like to figure out, first I like to figure out the sign. Maybe, hopefully you didn't read them all yet, but I'll like erase all my answers. I can do it again. Okay, so I always like to figure out the sign first, right? 18, the positive divided by a negative, those are different signs, right? So that means my answer is going to be negative. Okay, and then I just do the division. 18 divided by 3, 6. Okay, negative 12 over negative 4, so they're the same sign. So I know my answer is going to be positive. And so I'm not going to write a positive sign because if there's no sign in front of it, then you just assume it's positive. Right, then 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, negative divided by positive, different sign. So I'm going to have a negative answer. 21 divided by 7 is 3. Okay. And then positive over positive, 6, 2, okay. All right, so now we're getting into the zeros, just some interesting division rules, right? So just like how the zero property rule, anything times 0 equals 0, there's a zero. This is essentially the zero product rule, but in division form. Okay, so 0 divided by 5 equals 0. 0 divided by any number is equal to 0, right? Because if you read it the other way, right? Sorry, I'm gonna like squeeze this in somewhere. I'm gonna write it up here, right? 5 times 0 equals 0. Right, if you think of like, 5 times 2 equals 10, right? If you were going to write it a different way, 10 divided by 2 equals 5, right? So same thing here, 0 divided by 5 equals 0. Okay, so hopefully you kind of see what I did there. Jesus. So that's essentially what this represents. It's just like the 0 product rule. 0 divided by any number is always going to give you 0. And you think about what division is, right? Division is breaking something into smaller parts. That was what I had up here for, right? I would say I have 4 pieces of a pie, like just cut it into big pieces, right? And there's 2 people, so I want to figure out how many pieces of pie can the 2 people have, right? I've got my 4 total pieces, so I go 4 divided by 2. That means each of us can have 2 pieces, so, you know, this person can have that half, the other person can have that half. That's what division really is, right? We're breaking something apart into equal parts so that you can split whatever. So 0, if I were going to try and break 0 apart, what am I going to get? I'm starting with nothing, so I can break it into as many parts as I want. I'm still just going to end up with nothing, right? Because 0 is nothing. I don't have anything to even break apart, so that's why your answer is always 0. Now here's where we get to the tricky part. Dividing by 0. You cannot divide any number by 0. Okay, the reason is because when you think of, again, division, so I have my 4 pieces of my pie, I want to break it apart in 2 parts, right? Say again, I have a piece of pie, there's 8 slices. I don't know why I wrote it like that, making it worse. Right, I have 8 slices, I want to break it into 0 parts. That's not possible, right? I can't get something and break it apart into nothing. Something exists and I can't make it into non-existence. I mean, yeah, sure, there's the joke that I could just eat the whole pie or whatever, but I'm, you know, for math's sake, right, I can't break something apart into nothing. The smallest that I could break it apart into is just like, you get 1 whole pie for yourself. That's still 1, right? I'm breaking it apart into 1. I cannot break it apart into 0. I cannot make it non-existent. Therefore, it is called, the answer is undefined. Okay? Any number divided by 0. So it's really important to distinguish between these two. Okay, they mean very different things. You cannot divide by 0. You can divide 0 by whatever, you'll still end up with 0, but I can't break something that exists into nothing. It's not possible. It is called undefined. That is your answer. So it's just not possible in like a physical, you know, spatial reality type of way. That's why we cannot divide by 0. Okay, so if you ever see this, your answer would be undefined. That is a correct answer. So 0. So I always know students get really scared when they get answers like undefined or 0. Those are answers. They're valid answers as long as you did your problem correctly. You know, sometimes that's the answer, right? Right. So that's division. So hopefully that one's pretty simple.